In the previous class, we had discussion about integrated development environment. It has a emulator, simulator, and debugger. Today, we discuss about the debugging techniques. The debugging techniques, there are several techniques. Among them, we are going to find it is one of the debugging techniques is incremental EEPROM burning technique. So this is the most primitive type of firmware debugging technique where the code is separated into different functional code units. So instead of burning the entire code into the EEPROM at once, the code is burned in incremental order where the code corresponding to all functionalities are separately coded, cross-compiled, and burned into the one by one. So the fashion of this burning technique. So burning nothing but how we are going to install the firmware. Okay, that is the debugging technique. Here we are going to use the technique. It is in the form of incremental fashion. Nothing but the entire code is separated into different functional code units. And here we are going to observe the hierarchy of these functional code units. So one by one, the burning technique is going to be adopted in incremental EEPROM technique. The incremental firmware burning technique is widely adopted in small, simple system developments and in product development where time is not a big constraint. So most of the time, this is not used for real-time debugging techniques. So it is used for normal where we are not going to find any time critical issues. There we can use this technology for creating the chips. Another debugging technique, it is inline breakpoint based debugging. So within the firmware, where we want to ensure that firmware execution is reaching up to a specified point. Insert an inline debug code immediately after that point. So wherever we need in the already the firmware, the chip available, and we want to modify it. And we want to once again update the firmware in that chip. So there the coding, how we need to debug that one. So that is inline coding. So we just modify the code inserting the inline debug code immediately after where the selected point is available in that particular firmware. Then comes the monitor program based firmware debugging. In this approach, a monitor program which acts as a supervisor is developed. The monitor program controls the downloading of user code into the code memory. Nothing but we are going to use a separate monitor as a supervisor to observe the status of this firmware debugging. What is the percentage of code is downloaded in the chip? Okay, and what is the current process? All those things we can monitor through this debugging technique. Code memory inspection inspects and modifies register and memory locations. That is nothing but code. So how the debugging process is going on with respect to the firmware debugging, we can monitor that one through a monitoring program. It is going to act as a supervisor in the development. It allows single stepping of source code and etc. Then another debugging technique is ICE, the in-circuit emulator-based firmware debugging. The emulator hardware contains the necessary emulation logic and it is hooked into the debugging application running on the development PC on one end and connects to the target board through some interface on the other end. So this is one of the techniques where we are going to use the in-circuit emulator. Nothing but emulator is nothing but what? Here we are going to observe that hardware, the virtual hardware, which is available in the development environment. So where we are going to debug that one in the development PC, which is going to be used for the target board. A hardware emulator is controlled by a debugger application running on the development PC. Another debugging technique, it is OCD, it is on-chip firmware debugging. Through this technique, it is going to add silicon complexity and cost factor. From a developer perspective, it is a very good feature supporting fast and efficient firmware debugging. So on-chip, nothing but in the factory itself. So in the factory, whatever the debugging technique it is there, it is on-chip firmware debugging. And this debugging technique facilitates integrated to the processor or a controller are chip vendor dependent. So different chip manufacturers are going to use different firmwares. So there the debugging technique, what we are going to refer it is on-chip firmware debugging. The next comes the target hardware debugging. Target hardware debugging. So here we are going to observe, and these are the things what we are going to perform in our regular labs. We are going to debug, means test the respective hardware by one of the things, it is a magnifying glass or a lens. So if the hardware is there on the table in the particular lab, what we are going to do, how we are going to debug, how we are going to test, by using one of the tool, it is lens. So magnifying lens glass are used for checking the errors in the circuit and testing purpose and debug the respective circuit. Another tool what we are going to use for hardware debugging is multimeter. So is a multimeter we have, as the name indicates, it is going to perform multiple operations. Like it is going to use it for testing and checking the status of respective different parameters like voltage measurement, current measurement, resistance measurement, and so on. So here the multimeter is one of the tools which is used for target hardware debugging. So within the hardware, whenever at any point of the circuit, at any node in the circuit, if you want to measure any parameter which are available in that particular hardware, that is testing material, that is multimeter, we are going to use this method. Another one is digital CRO. So digital CRO, obviously we are using for what? Debugging the circuit itself. So in the regular lab, we are going to use this CRO for monitoring purpose. So we want to monitor. So what is the status at what point of this circuit? So in which node? What is the status of the signal? What type of signal is generated? So all functions like analog and digital calculations will be shown through this digital CRO, a debugging tool. Another one is the logic analyzer. So here the logic analyzer we are going to use for debugging purpose. Another one is the function generator. So function generator, obviously we are going to use this one for generating the signals to test the required hardware or the available hardware debugging. So these are the few target hardware debugging tools what we are going to prefer for debugging the respective hardware. So these are the debugging techniques what we are going to prefer for the development of embedded system. So this one is the end of model number 5. So next concept, as we discussed, model number 3, 4, and 5. So those are all introduction about the embedded system. The next models, model number 1 and 2, they are purely programming concept about the ARM Cortex M3 processor. So here we begin with model number 1. It is ARM (32-bit) microcontroller. So here we are going to discuss about the introduction part of this ARM 32-bit microcontroller. So in this model, we are going to discuss about the Thumb 2 technology and applications of ARM. Then we are going to discuss about architecture of ARM Cortex M3 processor, then the debugging support, the general purpose registers, special registers, means the registers available in that ARM microcontroller. Then the interrupt handling and exceptions. We're going to discuss about the stack operations. Then we have the reset sequence. So these are the discussions what we are going to discuss in model number 1. So let us begin with what is this Thumb 2 technology. The Thumb and Thumb 2. So as we go for this one is the ARM Cortex M3. We have the family of ARM processors. We have the family of ARM processors, but we are not going to discuss all those things. We just begin with the concept of Thumb and Thumb 2 technology. So what is this Thumb and Thumb 2 technology? Are registered trademarks of ARM. So nothing but the instructions which are available in the ARM processor, they are categorized into Thumb. They are known as Thumb. So Thumb and Thumb 2 instruction set, we may say. So these are trademarks of ARM. The Thumb 2 technology extends the Thumb instruction set architecture, that is known as ISA, into a highly efficient and powerful instruction set. So as we go for the assembly level language, obviously these are the things which are comes under assembly level language. So in the assembly level language, if I go for 8086 or the previous version, so what we are going to observe, there is an upgradation in the instruction set. Upgradation in the instruction set. So what they are going to prefer in the ARM processor, here they are going to give the name as a Thumb instruction set architecture. Instruction set architecture. So from one ARM processor to another ARM processor. From one processor to another processor. Obviously, there is upgradation in the instruction set. So those are comparatively highly efficient and powerful instructions from previous version to present version. So the thumb2 technology extends the previous version, that is thumb instruction set. Previous one is thumb, the present one is thumb2, into a highly efficient and powerful instruction set that delivers significant benefits in terms of ease of use, the code size, as well as the performance by that particular instruction set. The extended instruction set in thumb2 is a superset of previous 16-bit thumb instruction set. Nothing but the thumb instruction set, what we are going to have, which are of size 16-bit instructions, those are upgraded to 32-bit. Not only that, incremented to 32-bit, as well as these present thumb2 instruction set are going to support both previous version as well as the upgraded version with additional 16-bit instructions alongside the 32-bit instructions. So this one is the diagram illustrates the thumb2 technology. So previous version, it is thumb instruction set, which is of size 16 bits. Then comes the thumb2 technology, which is going to support both 32-bit as well as 16-bit instruction set. Here, the Cortex M3 processor, the version of this ARM processors, we have the Cortex M3 processor can execute almost all the 16-bit thumb instructions, previous version, as well as the including all 16-bit thumb instructions supported by the ARM7. So we have the family of ARM. Okay. So it is ARM7 family processors, making application porting easy. With support of both 16-bit as well as the 32-bit instruction, the thumb2 instruction set, there is no need to switch the processor between thumb state and ARM state. Okay, while using the development of this embedded system, the processor, what we are going to prefer, it is the Cortex M3, which is going to support both thumb and thumb2 instruction set. The application of this ARM, where we are going to find this ARM 32-bit microcontroller. So it is a low-cost microcontrollers. Wherever we need the low-cost microcontrollers, obviously they prefer this ARM family processor. The Cortex M3 processor is ideally suited for all low-cost microcontroller applications, which are commonly used in consumer products, from toys to electrical appliances. It is going to use low power. One of the benefits it is going to perform, it is going to show its high performance by using low power, and it is ease of use, and it is advantage for embedded developers to migrate to 32-bit systems and develop products with ARM architecture. So wherever we need the controlling task and the embedded system, which is used in such places where we require the low-cost applications. So there we can use this ARM Cortex M3 processor. Automotive, where we need the real-time operations, the real-time systems. Automotive, where we need automatic control over the systems. So another ideal application for this Cortex M3 processor is in the automotive industry. This processor has, due to high performance, efficiency, and low interrupt latency, allowing it to be used in real-time systems. Some of the applications used in data communication environment, the processor's low power and high efficient, and coupled with instruction set in thumb2 for bit feed manipulation, make this processor ideal for many communication applications, such as one of the example, it is Bluetooth or a Zigbee. Some more applications like industrial control. In industrial control applications, simplicity, fast response, reliability, these are the key factors of this Cortex M3, which is mostly used in all industrial control environments. The Cortex M3 processor interrupt feature, low interrupt latency, and enhanced fault handling features make it strong to use in industrial control areas. And another application where what we are going to find it is consumer products. In many consumer products, a high performance microprocessor is used. The Cortex M3 processor, being a small processor, is highly efficient and low in power and supports an MPU, enabling complex software to execute while providing robust memory protection. So here we are going to use this ARM Cortex M3 processor in consumer products also. So it is purely because of the highly efficient, high performance, and low interrupt latency. Means it is not going to take any delay to interact with interrupts. So once the interrupt is arrived, immediately it is going to execute that interrupt by taking minimum time. So these are the some applications of this ARM Cortex M3. So what is this ARM Cortex M3 processor then? This ARM Cortex M3 processor, it is the first Cortex generation of processors released by this ARM industry in 2006. And it was primarily designed to target the 32-bit microcontroller market. And this processor provides excellent performance as we discussed. It has a high performance at low gate count and comes with many new features what we are going to observe previously available ARM processors. And what are the performances done by this Cortex M3 processors? So this processor is going to address the requirements of this 32-bit embedded processor market. So what are the key features it is going to address? So it is capable to perform a greater performance efficiency. It is going to show greater performance efficiency. And the power consumption, it is very low power consumption, and enhanced determinism, improved code density, and it is ease of use. It is easily available, and any developer can easily use this processor for development purpose, and it is lower cost. It is going to address the lower cost. The first application what we are going to find, it is a low cost microcontroller and wide choice of development tools. So the development tools what we have discussed in the previous model, all those tools are supported by this ARM Cortex M3 processor. So as the technology goes on increases, obviously there is an increase in the technology of these processors and controllers. So in this field, it is a processor field, it is Intel from 80862 up to the core processors, what we are going to find nowadays. So respectively, in microcontroller family also, it is 80512, the ARM controllers, what we are going to find nowadays. The architecture of this one, the architecture of ARM Cortex M3 processor, what we are going to observe it is going to support previous version, nothing but it is the upgraded version of previous chip. So the complete chip is developed by the chip manufacturers, and some of the previous version chips are upgraded. So what are the previous chip contents? The developed by our design houses, chip manufacturers. What they're going to perform, they're going to use the peripherals, memory, clock and reset, input-output blocks. And all are connected through this internal bus. So what are the added version compared to the previous R? So here we're going to find a core which is known as Cortex M3 core and the debugging system. So these are developed by the R industry. So this is the compact version of this Cortex M3 chip. It is the enhanced version of previous ARM processors. So it has Cortex M3 core, the debugging system, peripherals, memory, clock and reset, input-output block. So all are connected through internal bus architecture. And it has the profiles. It has nothing but the architecture is divided into sections, and those sections are referred as profiles. So it has A profile, R profile, and M profile. So what is A profile? So A profile designed for high performance open application platforms, and it has R profile designed for high-end embedded systems in which real-time performance is needed, and M profile is designed for deeply embedded microcontroller type systems. So the different fields as per the demand of respective fields or the embedded system development, and the respective profile is preferred. So this one is about architecture of R Cortex M3. So this is about the introduction of this R Cortex M3 processor. So in the next class, we deal with what are the architecture we know. Next, we come across the main model is going to target about the programming facility. So how the programming available, how the processor is going to support programming through assembly level language. So what are the concepts? We're going to discuss those things in the next class.